It is no longer news how patients of COVID-19 across Nigeria flee their isolation centers. Two of such incidents happened on Tuesday, where in Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde confirmed that 2 of the 33 cases in the state absconded. While in Gombe State, it was reported that patients staged a protest about what they call ill treatment. Joining us to discuss these isolated cases and others across the country is a public affairs analyst, Bola Olajuwon. Bola, glad to have you join me.
Oh, it's good.
Join us, really, not just me. All right. Bola, from Oyo to Kano to Osho, to Borno, Taraba, Adamawa, Bauchi, even in Kenya, tales of patients fleeing isolation centers. What will you attribute this to?
See, basically, if I'm going to give an answer to this, I'm going to be a bystander. But in any case, we can only come up with possible scenario or explanation of why these people are behaving the way they do. Remember very well, the first index case in Lagos here attempted to flee. What happened? He complained of the environment, no air condition. At the end of the day, he was moved, from the first, place they put him before they now put him to a refined, well air-conditioned hospital. Now, let's come to, let's come down to why these people are behaving the way they are doing. Basically, you see, woman acceptance of their reality or the reality of their situation depends on their, defense mechanism. Okay, what are these defense mechanisms? They are processes whereby people face, their situation. It may not necessarily be a matter of reality. It may be a matter of denial. It may be a matter of retrogression of their feeling. It may also be a matter of saying, oh, let me sit down, let me rationalize my scenario. But basically, I will say environment matters most. What type of environment do they put these people? What kind of mental consultation did they have with them? These people, they just believe that, coronavirus is, a death sentence. They've heard a lot about coronavirus. People have even equated coronavirus to AIDS, HIV. But basically, I think, aside the fact of the environment where they put these people, whether it's, good for them, whether it's habitable, whether, it's acceptable to them, did they discuss with them? Who spoke with them? Who tried to shake their state of psychological, realization of the fact of their environment and their situation? Do they do that? This matter is not a matter of just saying they want to, give them drug. Let them know their situation, boost their morale. Are they doing that? I don't think that in most of our hospitals, most of our teaching hospitals, we have psychologists who are talking to patients about their condition. Basically, most of these people, you just bring them there, you dump them, you start giving them, medication. Let them realize, I as a managerial psychologist, I discovered that Nigerians are still living in denial of the fact that, look, this situation cannot be mine. I cannot have coronavirus. Even if I have coronavirus, I will not die. Instead of being treated here, let me go to my village. Let me go to my home and take agbo herbs. The fact still remains that Nigerians will need psychological re-engineering in many facets of life.
All right.
We need, but these people specifically, they need psychological re-engineering because of what has been painted of coronavirus.
Mr. Olajuwon, let me interrupt you there and highlight the fact that, as you've said, there are many reasons why somebody could flee an isolation center or a hospital. It could be fear of death, fear of their status. It could be the conditions of the environment where they've been isolated. But it could also be the fact that they aren't aware of the severity of their situation. There are many reasons why somebody would not feel safe at a place where they are there receiving treatment. There's also the fear of finances too. How is my family going to survive if I'm not there with them? Or are these people going to charge me for this treatment? They said I have to be here for 14 days. How am I going to manage that time? Aside from giving people the psychiatric support that you mentioned in your first answer, how can we tackle each of these things? Because there surely has to be some form of education being brought to these people, and there has to be some form of relief that they receive when they realize that they are going to be looked after across all facets of life during this time. If you were to focus on those different issues I highlighted, how can we identify different ways in which people can stop absconding and stop fleeing from these places?
Basically, it's the fact that before bringing these people to isolation center, you have to sit with them to discuss with them. Do they have loved ones that they're listening to? Specifically, in every family, we have people that we listen to. It may be our wife. You may even talk. You may even speak to their children. It may be their son, their daughter. Their daddy, you are not going to die. You will come back and meet us. Please, just stay. Take your treatment. We love you. I can tell you categorically that some people will believe in that. Not only that, see, I've not been seeing more of enlightenment. Where is the place of the National Orientation Agency in this? We may have a presidential task force. When we create an institution, please let this institution develop, let this institution survive. I can tell you that, since this coronavirus started, since the issue of the index case was discovered in Nigeria, have you been hearing of the National Orientation Agency coming out to speak? No! What I'm saying inherently is that how many psychologists do we have in our hospitals? You can only see psychiatrists or clinical psychiatrists. And these people, you will only go and see them where they call Yaba left. But basically, we need these people, these specialists at this point in time. They should be able to, intervene, to give the right stimulus, the right intervention, to discuss with those people. All of them don't need discussion. It depends on many things, as you said, and as I also, contributed. Basically, I will only tell you that the only way we can deal with them is, first of all, to talk to these people. You talk to them, you give them the right intervention in terms of medication, intervention in terms of the right environment. What type of environment are these people, living? Okay, you can't expect somebody, from London now, you keep the person in a place that is very hot. How do you want the person to survive? Somebody in Kano that doesn't know anything, sorry to use the word alimanjiri, can fit in anywhere so far, he can eat. But one fact still remains, denial. You have to tackle that denial. You also need to tackle, the person to understand the fact that it's not a death sentence. The fact that you still go and meet your family. Are they doing this? These are the things we need to put into place. See, treatment is now holistic.
All right.
Treatment is also spiritual. What of pastors? What of imam? They should be able to cut what these people are familiar with.
Good. Bola,
yes.
You've mentioned quite a bit of what this one should do, that one should do. Let me take it a little bit further. What role do you think the public now, and the families of these individuals should be playing? I said this because you remember the case of the man whose son was told not to travel, the road safety man. That
In Ekiti.
good, you know the role he played. And I think in one of the states in the north, somebody escaped and the family had to help get the person back. So that's why I'm asking, what role should the public on the one hand and the families of these individuals be expected to play to stop these incidences of people trying to flee isolation camps?
Okay, now let's look at it from this perspective. You see, the fact still remains that the public still see coronavirus as death. I can tell you there was a day I was inside a vehicle, I called. Immediately I did that, somebody just said, Jesus Christ. I said, Jesus Christ. You can see me with my nose mask. I didn't cough outside. And basically, you can see that this place is stuffy. That's why I did what I did. I know I'm okay. And a mere seeing me, you will know I'm okay. I said, sorry, I'm only joking. I said, that joke is too expensive. And that is how you people just know, all the people, that have coronavirus. That is the medicine that you will never see any state government that has ever released these people saying that this is the identity of the people involved. Now, let's look at it from this point. The public should accept the fact that it's treatable. In Nigeria, for instance, you can see that many people that recover from it are more than the people that died. Are more than the people that, that have been confirmed dead. And if that is be the case, the public should understand that this thing is treatable and they must come outside, they must come out to state their state of health in respect of, whether they have coronavirus symptoms or not. They should be able to accept the government, calling that they should come out and receive medication. Not only that, the family too should accept the fact that, this man is our love. This is our loved one. We should be able to give him the necessary support. If it's possible to call him. Ask for his help. Now, when he comes back, when he has been, confirmed that he has recovered, give him the necessary support in terms of saying, use your medication. Not only that, give him support in terms of, feeding. Give him psychological support.
Mr. Olajuwon, if we could just put you on pause there. There's been a lot to digest from what you've said, definitely with people being able to realize that COVID-19 is not a death sentence, that people have been recovering more. And in that time, we will come back to you and discuss that further. It is time now for a short break. Please do stay with us.
All right, we've been discussing with Bola Olajuwon on this morning show on the people who are fleeing the isolation centers, and even some who were tested, and when they got to pick them up, they had gone away and switched off their phone. Bola, I'm glad to know that you're still there.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm still here.
Good, fantastic. Now, begin to evaluate the extent of the dangers that this set of people pose both to the public and the cost of fighting the pandemic and the spread.
Okay, thank you for that question. Basically, let's look at what is happening in the developed world. Look at what is happening in Germany now. A town in Germany, after the issuing of lockdown, they have to do lockdown again. What happened? There is a sharp discrepancy in the number or the cases of people that they now discover. Look at what is happening in Spain now. Where there is development, where the government is in tune with the need of the citizen. Okay, they've seen sharp increase. Now, let's look at our own situation, whereby somebody ran from isolation center, maybe to his family, who are suspecting it will end up infecting them. They will end up infecting other people. Then it will become community of coronavirus infection. That is how it will move. In a situation, in our own peculiar situation, where it's a little bit difficult to trace coronavirus patient or those infected or potential contact, it will be very difficult. We'll be wasting time, and before you know it, now it will start expanding. This is one of the situation. Then you see, every human life matters most, whether the person is a coronavirus patient or not. Now, in a situation where this person just flee, what happened? You see the person dying ultimately or infecting others, whether the person try to go to pharmacy as Nigerians are doing now. Let's be truthful with ourselves. Many Nigerians are not going to hospitals because they don't have the money. What they do now is to go and meet a pharmacist or somebody that operates a pharmaceutical shop. Oh, I'm having a headache. Oh, you're having a headache. Fine. See, the issue is the cost in terms of trying, to find medications, to find drugs, or to take care of, others being infected. Instead of one person, we may end up having 50, we may end up having 100, or even 500 or 1,000 within a community. We should know it's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. What matters most is that, look, immediately anybody, is discovered or certified, to have coronavirus, sit in the isolation center. Ask for treatment, they will treat you. If they refuse to treat you, shout, phone people. You can phone Arise, phone newspapers, phone other television stations and radio stations. Definitely, I know that we will deal with it. But when we start fleeing, we are only postponing the doomsday. That is my take on it.
Mbola, how bad do you think things are going to get in terms of the spread of COVID-19 here in Nigeria and how people respond to that spread? Do you see an end in sight anytime soon? Do you think people would begin to educate themselves and understand the severity of the issue? Or do you think we will continue to see more people fleeing isolation centers, people not taking this virus as seriously as they should? How do you think people will respond going forward?
Okay, let me tell you, we are not going to get out of this in 1 year. I'm not a prophet of doom. And I can tell you categorically, in the next 2 years, the global world, will not get out of this so soon in 2 years. I can tell you that. Now, let's be realistic with ourselves. Nigerians were shouting, oh, we are feeling hungry. Oh, we are hungry. We are hungry. We want to get out. We are tired of this lockdown. That made the federal government to open everybody out to our own safety, if you like, place. Take proper safety measure. If not, follow the guideline that we've issued, the WHO issued, and the other health institutions issued. But are we doing that? No. Another thing is this, let's be truthful. I'm an international journalist. I've seen what is happening in Spain. I've seen what happened in Russia, China. I saw what happened in Italy. I saw what happened in France. We've not flattened the curve. We've not flattened the curve. Instead of flattening the curve, we are still moving up. There's a sharp increase in cases. And now, the fact still remains that we've not seen what happened in Spain. We've not seen what happened in Italy, where even such homes were left and people died just like that. Whole people were just dying because the people in charge of them, they flee. How many people have we seen flee in Nigeria from, people with coronavirus or with coronavirus patients? How many people? Well, we are still our brother's keeper. But I hope that it won't get to a time where you see, because of the damage that coronavirus has done in each family, because of our inability to adapt to the guideline, our inability to take the safety measure religiously, I can tell you categorically that, look, we are still going to see more of coronavirus. I just hope the federal government, state government will not let our children to go to school now, because it will be disastrous.
Well, they've not. There's not going to school yet, at least on that one. The federal government, you, ourselves in the studio, will agree on that. You touched one area, and I want to bring in the question of stigmatization, Bola.
Yes.
Do you think that the question, because the NCDC Director General, that's Chikwe Ihekwazu, he's mentioned this question of stigmatization, COVID-19 is just a disease. People should not be stigmatized. Could stigmatization be a factor encouraging these people to abscond? Do you think so?
Yeah, I agree with you categorically. You see, the issue is that for every ailment you have in our time, what you see is that, you will see some people abusing you one time or the other. It may even take 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. You see, even you see some families say, oh, look, they can't go there and marry them. You know that even their grandfather had mental illness. Now, this shouldn't be. You see, the issue is that we can't do this alone.
Yeah.
The federal task force cannot do it alone. Yeah. We've created institutions. Let the institution live. We should be able to support the institution. I don't know anybody in the national or regional agency. I don't know anybody. But you see, I've been to conferences all over the world. I've seen the issue of letting institutions, creating institutions, and funding institutions, nurturing the institution to growth, and letting institutions live. The institution created by government, by the federal government, by the state government, by local government, should be able to outlive us. They should be able to do the functions and responsibility that we've given to them. You see, this is where the idea of fighting stigmatization will come in. These are the people that should be able to do it. Okay, now, every now and then we see the presidential task force discussing on the tele. How many people have light to watch tele? How many people have tele? Then what about the people in the rural area? Who will reach them with public address system so that they can know what is obtainable in the area of coronavirus? These are the facts that I, as a person, as a journalist, mass communicator, I, as a psychologist, will say that we should imbibe. If we imbibe this, we should be able to deal with stigmatization. You can see, we discovered AIDS how many years ago? Ebola virus, they discovered it in Congo. Okay, now, if it should be Nigeria that is so pronounced, I can tell you that, look, the street where Ebola virus patients, or those people that recover from Ebola virus, or suffer Ebola, where they live, people will not pass there. Their family will become stigmatized. For how long in this age are we going to be living in that particular dark area of human habitation? I just believe that we should be above board and we should do what is best by disabusing our mind that, look, every ailment that comes can be in form of mutation. It can be a new ailment. It can be ailment. It can be an ailment with existing symptoms that they are probably and even possibly available medication that will treat those symptoms, that will give the person broad spectrum treatment. That is what I think. Yes.
Bola, well.
We have run out of time, unfortunately. Thank you so much for your time there. Bola Olajuwon, journalist and news commentator there for us. Thank you so much for your thoughts and analysis on this story.